Hello, hello everybody. Give me just 1 sec to share the link for this stream. Just have to put it in the Discord so people can find me, see that I'm live. I don't know how many people use that, but it's always a good thing to do that. There we are. For some reason it also makes a video sometimes, but not all the time. So, I hope you're doing well. I hope everybody is here. Everybody can find the stream. Let me know if you can hear everything. I did change some of my mic settings. So I have a higher input gain on the audio interface, but a lower gain within the software. So that's just a little bit an easier way for me to like stabilize things. I should probably get in center here. Let me just. Yeah. Okay. So I did change some settings around. Hopefully everybody can hear. Hello, Malogify. How are you doing? Nice to see you. Greedo, how are you doing? Welcome. So today we're going to be doing something pretty cool, I think. And we're going to take these 4 loops that I've made and we're going to turn them into a song. So for the longest time I've had people ask me on how you would go about doing that. If you're able to create kind of this loop thing, the idea, how would you then arrange it into a full song? So I decided to just kind of stream that and take the next couple of hours just on getting this arrangement done and how you would do that. So this is going to be a little bit relaxed, kind of chill stream where I just sit down and produce. We're not really trying to achieve anything apart from making these loops sound good. But hopefully I can share some tips while doing this and give some insightful information. So hopefully it will be fun. So let's just play the loops so you can get familiar with them. It's not mixed at all. Been playing some Diablo 3 besides music. Nice. Never gotten into Diablo games, but I hear the fan base is pretty insane about them, so they should probably be good. There might be a bit too many elements in this thing. Like mainly the lead elements are a little bit clogged up, but I think it will be fine once we arrange it. We'll get some elements out of there, stuff like that. The second loop sounds like this. Let's just quickly turn off that massive delay here. This as well, it's not mixed, but it's there. It's an idea. And any tips for headphones that work well for side production? Well, I cannot really give a well-informed opinion on that because I've only really used these. So these are the Sennheiser HD Pro or HD 280 Pro, which are pretty common in podcasts and stuff like that. I've heard they're pretty good in terms of frequency flatness, but I'm unfamiliar with any other headphones to really say for certain. It kind of depends on what you're doing. If you're doing full-on mixing and mastering and everything, then I would definitely consider spending some time talking with people who really know their headphones well Unfortunately, that's not me, so I can give you this as an advice. They work well for me, but I've been working with them for 8 years, 9 years maybe. This exact pair, so this pair is lasting me very long, so I'm very used to how it sounds, and I am able to work with that. But it might not be for you, you know. So that I have a hard time specifically saying, okay, that's a good headphones for you to use, and then it turns out that for your specific production needs it doesn't work. But I have good experiences with this pair of headphones here for me. I did have the cushions, so these things. I had them replaced, and I should probably also replace this top thing here, because this is all messed up. It's like all broken down here and up here, and it's like shifted over a bit, but it's not like it doesn't work, it's just a bit annoying sometimes. So here's the final idea. It's just this simple loop here. You might do something more interesting with this loop here, make shift around some of the automations that are in there. But that's basically the loops that we're going to be working with. And the way I'm going to do this, arranging this and everything and making it sound good, is just to start off with a whole new section with just the kick and the bass. So we're just going to move this. Let's see, how long do I want the intro to be? We do have to do a little bit of math. I'm probably aiming for, seeing as this is a little bit of a slower track, maybe 1.5 sections. I consider this a section usually, so my measurement is in sections. This would be 1.5. That's usually because that's like the standard drop length for any of my tracks. I would need to see how long that is then in terms of length. It's just like just under 50 seconds, 45 seconds, I think. We might switch that around. We might start from here with the intro, or maybe even a little bit less, depending on how well it's how it all turns out. But we're going to just start with the drop, and I'm just going to build up one section. So this is 16 bars, and you can think of it as having 4 main points of interest. You have your starting point, or 5, sorry. You have your starting point, this point here, this point here, this point here, and the end point. And we kind of want to define the energy level that we're looking for. So let's say that this is our drop. I'm going to go into our marker track and assign it drop. And then let's say we'll have a little fill here. So I'm just going to have that in orange. We'll maybe make it a little bit shorter, because this is a nice clubby progressive track, so I usually go for shorter breaks there. What you can do, and what I've been doing, is using a utility, and then just with the gain, which isn't really going to do anything, I can describe how I want the energy to flow throughout this track. If I want, for example, this point of interest here, a little bit lower energy, I can go like this, and then we're going to go maybe a bit higher than our baseline here, and then a little bit lower. These measurements don't really make sense. It's just for me to drag out the curve of how I want the flow of the track to be, how the energy level of the track to be. I think my camera broke again. Yeah, there we are. It's going to be a bit annoying. Hopefully we don't get any crashes, those kind of things. Let me just quickly knock on the table there. So now we just need to drag in some of the elements. And I want to start by building this drop out of some of these. So these are little bad idea thingies with a big reverb and delay on them. Some don't really sound great. like this one, I don't think I want to use this. Listening to it, it's the only one that I made of a preset, and I don't really like the way it fits with the rest. So for now, let's disable this. And we're just gonna go maybe start with a bass line here. So something that repeats every certain amount of time. In this case, we're going for 4 bars, which is just this sound here. Gives it a nice impact. And because we're at the very start of our drop, we don't want it to be as extreme as it is now, with a sound playing like every almost like 2 beats on average, I would say, maybe. It's more than 1 sound per bar, so it's a lot more extreme than I want it to be. But we can just systematically disable some sounds and move some sounds around. Maybe by just looking at the grid, where things line up on the grid, we can find some places to put all of these different elements and then decide which ones we'll actually keep. So for example, this one might be cool to have that in the fill. This is a little bit more extreme. And then finally, maybe we'll have one that's kind of not following that pattern that we have of every 2 bars something that happens, basically. Also here. So maybe we just copy these 2 over here. So the second part's a little bit more interesting. A little bit more stuff happening. So let's listen to this. I'm not a fan of this one here. I'm probably going to delete this. Let's just 0 them. This one and this one, so we keep the MIDI in memory. We can keep this in here and maybe no, wait, sorry, it's this one, just to have the same ending here, because I do like this ending sound there. This one is maybe a bit too mono and a bit too loud for this thing here. Nice. It's great to see that you're all already here. I see that I have 8 concurrent viewers now. Nice to see that you've all been able to find the stream and are joining in. Welcome everybody, even if you're not actively typing in my chat. I really appreciate you being here. So that's really cool. I might turn the resonant. I like the resonant speak on its own, but might be a bit too extreme here. The phase is probably pretty important between these two here. Something like that. FG, how are you doing? I would almost say that this sound should probably be there. Right here, you might do it like this, so there's 2 variations of it, although that does sound weird. So now that we have everything running through one Echo Boy, it might be cool to set up a system where you can use a few different Echo Boys with different timings. So each of the elements has its own timing. And one thing that you could do is put that all on each individual track, which is what I've usually been doing. But I think then you also need to copy all of the processing that comes before it. Otherwise, this is going to mess up your delay. It's going to distort your delay, which I don't think you really want. So I'm going to look for a solution which allows you to do it all in the track here. And I have a pretty cool idea of how we could do that. I'm also doing pretty well today. Thank you for asking. So let's open up these other ones and let's just set different timings maybe. We'll set normal fourth notes like that. What I should be able to do is maybe even just using a chain selector. I hope this works the way I want it to, and if I go to map now and I set this to 2, this should only go between the 3 different tracks. I'm hoping it doesn't turn off the track after I switch away from it. Yeah, so it does what I wanted to do. And we can basically program in our delay input lines like this. So I could go, for the start, I want everything to follow this section basically. I want everything to go into the first chain, which is dotted 8 notes. But for example, for this one, I might decide to go to number 1 here. And then for this, we'll go to number 2. Oh. We'll just switch behind that so all of the release gets in there as well. And really something like this, if we just copy that over, we may need to make some edits to that. For example, we can go to 2 here, just for this element as well. And then go down to 1 for this. That's pretty cool. Let's remove the bass from that. Just to give us a little bit of space, a little bit of almost like it's the reset of the listener is basically what we're doing here. So this little lack of a bass line in this stabby big bass, what we have there, just gives it a little bit more power coming into that next part of the drop. So we can make that, and I'm going to copy over this version here, which has a lot more stuff, mainly more drums, but also an extra bassline layer. So it's just this offbeat thing, which just adds a whole nother groove to it. Together with all of the drums, it sounds pretty good. I don't think I want to immediately have all of the drums playing already. We might go for something like this. Let's delete that from there. let's say that I don't want the shift in here yet. So these are two different samples, right? So we have one with the shift before it and one without it. So no shifting, it just starts playing right at the kick. What I like to do sometimes is if I want to add groove later on in a track, I start by having just the clap without the like shift before it. And then we just later introduce the one with the shift. I do need to remember to do that though. Remember that this segment does not have that shifting in there. So for here, I'm going to go for 1 bar fill because I'm planning to go into like the first lead segment going into this. So I want the pause to be a little bit longer than at the first one. Can duplicate this over again. And here it's basically the same thing still in terms of like energy. We're following this curve where we want some energy here and more energy at the end. I realized that we haven't done that yet here. So that's probably where I want to go into next. But I want to just add a few extra elements to this segment here before we really go into it, so we have some more stuff to play with. So for example, these lead sounds here are perfect for this segment here. Listen to this. Maybe this is something that we can use. I could filter this in. What we could do, yeah, is part of the energy, have that come from just filtering this in like this. So it starts very slow and it just becomes more high energy stuff. Following this curve. Now I know that in the curve that we just defined for this element is different than the curve that is above here. We're not trying to have every curve that determines like the energy level. So for example, filter cutoff, volume, maybe pitch, those kind of things follow this curve exactly. But the whole idea of the whole track should be following that. Right, so it's not every single element needs to follow that. So for example, this element doesn't have an impact to achieve this part of the curve, it going down. What we could do is have a different element do that. So for example, we have these little plugs in here. If we really want, we can use those plugs and maybe filter them out of the first 4 bars, just have them kind of slow down, and then that's taking care of that part there. We can also add effect elements to this and noise and whatever to guide the energy level of the track even more. So let's actually try that. This is doing mid-side EQ, so I want a new filter. Actually do the filtering here. For this thing, we are slightly going to follow the curve. I'm considering doing it like this, but then I'm scared that too much of this part does not have that plug in there, and it's not as profound as I want it to be, or as present as I want it to be. But it might be cool to just have it more in a background element kind of thing. I also want this to be a little bit, how would I say, less aggressive, less I'm sorry. I live next to a busy street. I'm just gonna have to deal with that, but that little bit of air does help. Maybe even a bit more of stereo spread here. I would like to have that centered, that line there. But just go. That line, I think, means if you have that on the mono line, it means that the most stable part of the sound is actually sitting on the mono line. Now, obviously, you don't want to have it exactly on there. Having it close is good enough. But I think for this sound, that does make a difference here. That does sound nice. Let's remove that final element there, so we can have a special element sitting here in the break to carry us on into the next part. And what I like to do, what I've been doing lately, is to try to get a fairly long progression down, like very long in terms of time, and work with as little elements, extra elements as possible. So once I have my loops finished like this, I just go into getting as much progression throughout the track as possible. And I've written whole tracks just based on the 3 or 4 loops that I come up with at the start of a project. And sometimes that works, and sometimes it just absolutely doesn't work. So for some songs, I won't use this technique. I won't even start like a loop like this. I'll just start with an intro, or start with the kick and bass, or start with a lead sound, or whatever I have coming up in my mind. But you don't have to do it this way, where you start by creating your ideas and then lay them out. You can, for some ideas, it's better to lay out the idea completely beforehand and then work on all of the stuff around it. In this case, we've obviously made all of the drums and everything, so I don't really have to worry about them. But you could not do that. If the idea that you have is for a very long section of a track, then it's better to just lay it out completely and then work on drums, whatever. So this is just the starting section. It's, I think, a little bit boring, but we could change it up, maybe add some cool things around there. I do want to try this element here, because this is an element that I really like. It's this vocal thing. Which I made with a vocoder. I'll quickly go over this because it's a really cool technique. I don't know if you know AU5, he's a dubstep producer and he also does tutorials. And he came up with a very cool way to make dubstep chords. So if I set this to the master out for now, you can hear this big, distorted, detuned kind of chord that you would use in a dubstep track. Turns out this is a very cool carrier for a vocoder if you're doing any vocoding on vocals. So this is the source sound. It's fairly complex patch in the sense that there's a lot of weird modulations going on. You can see this master tuning, and then we're countering that with an opposite tune on the coarse pitch, and then we're instead using chaos to do the coarse pitch. So you have this noise oscillator basically only tuning the sub and the noise oscillator itself, but we're not using pitch tracking there, so that doesn't matter. And then we're doing some randomness and then some other sound designy stuff. This is more usual what you would usually see, but the top part, which makes this detuned saw work, is pretty spectacular and different. So I'll recommend that you check out AU5's tutorial. I'm going to see if I can quickly find that for you. The cool thing about this detuned sound patch is that it's not detuned at all. So I'll drop it in the chat. For some reason it was timed. Don't worry about that. There's a timestamp in there. Just watch it from the start and you'll hopefully get it. The cool thing about this is there's no detuning anywhere within the channel, but it sounds detuned. So it saves a lot of CPU memory if you want to go for a big detuned chord type of sound. Or it's CPU memory, that doesn't make sense. CPU power, basically, CPU usage. So this is a very light patch on the CPU, which is really cool. And then that just is the vocoder modulator for this. Without the vocoder, it just sounds... Also sounds cool, but with the vocoder it sounds a lot better. It's this airy, high kind of thing. Also formatted it up 12, so that gives it the higher air. I wanted to do something with this noise, a little bit of the sidechaining in here. Rozione, thank you. Glad you're enjoying what we're doing here. I'm not entirely sure what I want to do with these two leads. I should probably remove, first of all, the sub bass there, because there seems to be a little bit of low end. What if we try to get the same kind of dip right about here in this channel? Make it sound a little bit more uniform. Remove the sub and add more chorus. To this one, let's see. Because it's already pretty wet. Let's chorus. You were away for a few minutes, but just came back. Nice grooves. Thank you. Let's listen. I almost feel like this lead on its own could do the job. Because it obviously has the little delay kind of thing in here. But I'm not entirely happy with how this lead sounds. It's not the greatest in terms of the sound that I'm after. I did want some vocally kind of thing. That's definitely what I'm looking for. So maybe we can do... we'll do some damage in the club. Yeah, it's the whole beat sounds well. It sounds the way I want it to sound. The whole idea, the kind of flow that the drums give. That does work really well. I'm just not happy with how these two leads occupy the space within this setup that we have. So I think it may have worked for when I wrote it initially, but I'm just not keen on it anymore. So I might come up with a different MIDI or something like that, maybe try some sound designing to kind of fix it. I think as a rhythm, this might not work having just a pause here. That seems a little bit of a random moment. Obviously it makes sense because that's where one of these things is happening, this thing. Then there's also this sound, which is almost completely different from all of the rest, even though it's the same synth. So that might... It's a little bit of a farty sound in my opinion. It might not be the best here. Let's see, maybe if we... I just used these vowel ones, so maybe we can find... Sounds like a wet fart. Yes. Very much has that kind of idea. It does work well with this sound here, which is also this kind of wet, textury kind of sound. But it might not work with the rest of the track. It's not too late to just give up on an idea, though. So I'm going to just disable this for now, and let's see if we can maybe create a different idea that kind of does the same thing. So I came into this late. None of that works on its own or in the song. That doesn't matter. I appreciate the feedback, what you think, because at the end of the day, I'm also just a producer who doesn't really know what he's doing until he's heard it many times. So getting the confirmation that the beat itself works and everything around it works just gives me allows me to think about, okay, what do I want from this lead sound then, if what I have here doesn't do what I want it to do. One consideration we could do is this lead sound that I made. I'm also not very keen on it, but it's a cool idea. It's this thing that switches every bar. I don't think I would want to have that here. You definitely know what you're doing and you feel like complete amateur giving suggestions. Don't worry, nobody really knows what they're doing, to be honest. And you don't have to be afraid to give your opinion, because I'm also looking for that. If I'm producing on a live stream, then part of what I'm trying to do is also get ideas from other people. See, that's kind of what the chat is for. That's the secret. The groove is the secret, yes. We could interpret that literally and maybe do something with the overall groove here. So let me record that. Nobody knows what they're really doing. Projector 2022. I stand by that statement. Yes. If I just get it without the sub bass, I can just see kind of where the spikes are in high end, and we can follow that for like a groove. Yes, just messing about until you strike something that actually works. That's kind of the whole idea behind music production, I think, for everybody. The groove is kind of just like this, if I'm not mistaken. Let's turn that down a little bit lower. You can delete this because that has served its purpose. Same as this thing. What synth is that bass from? It's Serum. The patch is pretty simple actually, just volume, and then we have filter cutoff automation. No effects on it, apart from these plugins. The stereo generator. I'm doing a cool thing with a delay where I'm using the space delay, the high end basically. So the low stuff is all cut, and I'm not using any feedback. So this is like a timed slapback delay. And it's, I think, set to ping pong, or no, the white thing. So that does. Just adds that extra click to it. And then a stereo processing and vitamin for the power, basically. Just gives it, just ties it up nicely. And this thing, same without, these effects are all the same. I just duplicated this thing, and then I randomized the phase of all of the harmonics and changed some of the lower harmonics, as well as the actual filter cutoff shape that we're playing. This just gives an offbeat plug to it. Wait. Oh yeah, obviously that's the synth here. So there you get that. I did want something vowely. We can maybe try to do with the formant filters, although I'm not a huge fan of them in Serum. They usually don't give me the sound that I want. It's maybe a little bit too cheesy. Let's see if we can create an automation line that works with this. It's a delicious bass sound. Thank you. I think the biggest part of the bass sound is the fact that it's stereo. So if I turn off these elements, you're going to hear that that's really what's making it give its character, right? So without this. That does really give it its character. So you don't really need to go back to Serum to just do this, apart from mangling with randomized phase. I don't know if you can do that in Vital. You should ask Dash Glitch or somebody who's a little bit more experienced with it. I am sticking to Serum for most of my sound design, but sometimes I do like to go extreme with Vital or something like that. Faceplant as well. It's not my go-to synth, but I whip it out every once in a while. We actually might let's use the Faceplant here, because Faceplant has a better formant filter. If you want to do something with the formant filter, you should be using this one. Because first of all, it's two-dimensional, so there's a lot more possibilities to it. So we can set up the two macros to control the Y and X direction, basically, and you can go anywhere within this field. Yeah, the post-processing is really what makes sure that it sounds the way I want it to sound. So obviously the bass sound comes from the synth, but I'm giving it all of its character using the different plugins that I'm using, not with what I'm doing within the synth. And that's part on just because I like to be modular like that. So I can do what I did here. I said duplicated this patch, edited the MIDI, and then selected which models that I kind of wanted for my sound. So I removed the Echo Boy thing because I didn't want that there. And so you have basically it's an easy way to just turn on and off plugins and get different sounds, right? So that kind of works for me. The second thing is that Serum's effects aren't always the best in terms of the sound that they produce. They're not like a dedicated stereo spread, for example, that just gives you better stereo image. The stereo processor, what I'm doing in here, isn't doable within Serum itself. So given the fact that there are things that I want to do that I cannot really do in the synth, I might as well try to keep what I'm actually doing in the synth to a minimum, and then use dedicated high quality plugins for everything I want to do outside of that. Apart from, for example, the filtering, because I don't think that filtering is that important that it's so high quality, and the filters in Serum are pretty good, so that's a plus. Let's see if we Let's see, if I just copy over this to here, and then like this. Again, this is just trying to seeing if we can fit it in. Might be a bit too extreme in the notes that we're playing. So maybe if we turn these off and let's just have one groove here maybe. Maybe a little too much delay for you. Okay. Yeah, I turned it down afterwards, so it's now 25. Let's add some distortion. No delay sounds nicer on the lesser notes. You mean just no delay at all, or just little? Obviously it's too loud right now. The delay sounded nice when you removed some of the notes from the pattern. Okay, yeah, so what we could do is like this, where without any feedback it's just delaying everything once. I do like the sound. I think we need to maybe add a few more variations to it. Let's first of all remove the thing that we're replacing. We can check out how it sounds like this with this thing in there as well. might be a bit too much having that there, so maybe... something like this. I'm going to stop commenting and it. No, you don't have to. As I said, I like getting comments and getting other people's opinions. I do kind of like how I have it now with the different arrangement of that top sound here. We might not duplicate it like that all the way. We could, for example, do it like this, where in the first bar it's doing most of the stuff, and then in the second bar we really have space for this thing to take over. So then you get that might be cool. Just looking at the time, our drop is, because this is a very low BPM, I have to remember that my drop should probably be shorter. I also should copy over this here. I have to make something work first before you can tell if it really works. Yes. You have to kind of mix it in, make sure that the frequencies are the ones that you want. So for example here, I don't really want all of that high end. I'm really only out for this area. So that's part of making sure that it works before you can really judge it. I kind of want to work on towards getting to my next idea. So without the leads, you can hear the different bass line that I have in here, which is just a staccato version of what we had before. Like, I don't know how I want to use this, and if this is the right spot for it to be put in. We might find ourselves going like this maybe, where we let's first of all duplicate this. We add another 8 bars to it and use that as a build-up, almost. So let's try that. To keep it interesting for the listener, we're going to just do like... maybe even like this. I'm going to group all of my drums together. That's just in general useful to have all of your percussions on a group. And I'm going to get my filtering rack on my kick. That atmosphere, yes. I really like, yeah, the one that I explained. Those are all vocals. So the vocal thing that I explained before, this, it's just the same idea, but with different vocals going through it. You have that, you have this. and then this. And it's just a matter of placing the volumes of the, like, you cannot hear what this is saying. So it's just to give you the groove, the classic groove that you're hearing is just coming from the vocals, the kind of the shape of the vocals. So the rhythm comes from the plucks and sweeps and whatever I'm doing in here with the vocals, right? I don't even think this makes sense. It's not even on the beat, but it does work. Nice ping pong movement too. Yeah, that's the big delay doing that. It's part of giving it its atmosphere. Oh. Okay, so the idea was to continue on with the drop basically. Let's also add the noise to that, which is also already grouped, so we can simply edit that as well. But keep going with that, and then just to filter things out. So the kick, going to high pass that, and probably going to do let's say like this, and then the bass this. Copy that over. And then we'll go down in the volume here, like 5 decibels. And this is a nice place to switch to the different bass line. Jan Cook territory. To be honest, I'm not quite familiar with Jan Cook. I'm really glad that you guys like the bass line. Jan Cook. Abstract Texture Pack by Jan Cook. Is there any... Okay, so he does techno. Is there any songs from him? Does he have like a music playlist? Like music production, NF techno. He has a Bandcamp. Antimatter EP. Let's just listen to. It is a pretty aggressive bassline overall, I would say. Oh yeah, this is the stuff that I like. I need to verify my email still. Yeah, this is interesting. It's interesting music. I'm thinking of just going for the atmospheres there for now. And then you might even not use all of the drums on there. Just go back to like this groove here. This might be a nice place to start introducing that sound. I'm thinking of doing a large break with this, so like something like this. I have to check again what everything is. So this one is the low frequency, which will keep low. This seems to be the highest frequency of that. So we'll do a little fade up. Again, the same thing, we're talking about energy here. I kind of want my energy flow to go like this for this element. So that the higher frequency is where you really kind of do that with usually. But for this, that's also like macro 1, which does some of that. I really only want macro 1 to go up here, because this becomes that becomes a lot more intense. And part of that is dependent on what macro 2 is doing, I think. If I go like down like that, as well as macro 3. Yeah, that's really where the power comes from. Can maybe go like this for macro 2. Just as an experiment, I'm just going to bring this all back down. Going down like this, and then like that and like that. We're basically returning back down here, right? Give it some high gain. The high frequency go up there. We would obviously spend some time really kind of filling up this break. But we can, for example, let's just get these drums. What up, Cider? How are you doing? We can just keep this like this for now, right? So completely going back down to non-aggressive, non-high-end kind of thing that we had before. So you get this basically. almost immediately go back up with the reverb like this. Not that much, but just to give it a little bit of stereo. Okay, so we're a little bit behind with the sidechain here. Let's just... Okay, so that messed up there. So dark and atmospheric, love it already. Nice, great to hear. For this one we also need sidechain, although that's gonna go down in volume at the end, so we might need to do some edits to the sidechain signal itself as well, right? So because we're removing most of the kick, the sidechain isn't really that necessary anymore. So we can potentially just take the sidechain here and just, what I like to do sometimes, just slightly bring it down a few dB. Give the element some more space over the kick. You finished one track today, nice. It's always good to finish tracks. So if I remember correctly, you're into like this kind of progressive stuff, right? The progressive side of psytrance. I think I might have added one of your songs to my playlist. Like my big psytrance favorites playlist that I always listen to. The one that you can also find in my Discord. Psychedelic favorites. Let me check if I'm remembering the right person. Psynux. I don't think that's... Psynux might be a different person here on my... Cider, yes, and then there should be Psynux. There's so many people who start their name with Psy in my Discord. Obviously with Psytrance that being a thing. That I get confused by who is actually there. Psylium, Psyactive, Psyaum, Psyapocalypso, Psycasso, Psychonaut, Psyphil, Psybient, Psychokid. There's like 20 of them or something. You love the more light melodic stuff. Okay. So it's funny that the two people that I'm confusing now both are into progressive light kind of stuff. Because the Psynux, the track that I added, is very light and progressive. I'm not going to play it for copyright, but you can listen to it. It's the last song I added to my psychedelic favorites playlist. Live by Psynox, double X. Sounds like techno to you. Yeah, it's... So this is progressive psytrance, and the difference is that techno is often considered to be more about rumble and the drums and stuff, whereas for psytrance, the progressive psytrance part really comes from these kind of sounds. So this kind of... that thing, or... let me check, I think it's this one, right? Not that one. These kind of sounds, basically. This. The kind of psychedelic, weird thing. Right? So that's what I would really say. And there's no rumble in here. The bass line is just... This is not rumbling like a techno bass line would be. Let's get back to this one. Might just want to have that go up in time. Put a ping pong delay on it and call it Psy. Yes, very much. Definitely a fan of Psytrance now. Well, it's different from what I usually make. So the real Psytrance is the 60. There's no real Psytrance, but what people say is real Psytrance is more. It's more intense still. So it's faster. It's more gritty FM sounds, more ear-tearing kind of lead sounds. I am about to take a break. I've seen that I'm spending about an hour here on what we have so far. So I'll put on one of my other tracks so that you can hear what I usually make, which is a little bit more psychedelic. I am very much in the progressive part of Psytrance, so it gets a lot more intense than the stuff I'm making. If you're not into Psytrance, then I wouldn't recommend starting with that, but start with something like this, the track that I'm going to play now, and this is what I output on Bandcamp, because what you saw on Bandcamp is amazing. Yes, this is what the normal style, yes. I'm going to put everything out on Bandcamp eventually, even this thing and also this project here. I hope to get it to a point where this is something I can release. But for now, this is also not on Bandcamp, so you're getting a preview of something that is yet to release. And then I'm working on an album, which is, in terms of production, is completely finished, but needs all of its assets done and some of its mixing done. So it's still in the works, and yeah, it's... If you're gonna get into Psytrance, you'll understand that there's a lot more intense stuff than just what I'm doing. Yeah, start with Infected Mushroom. Even that is a little bit more intense than what I do, to be honest. But it's still very melodical, it's still very progressive, it's not very fast, there isn't very long... there's like progression through it, right? That's the meaning of progressive Psytrance, in that it's always evolving. Whereas some forest sounds, it just, okay, they add a lead, then they add a second lead, and the first lead stays, and there's not really a lot of automation. It's just all of these leads coming together, creating this big soundscape, and then it's up until into the next section, right? Yeah, so enough talking about music. I'm quickly going to take a break, refresh my ears, get myself a little drink, and then I'll be right back. In the meanwhile, I'll be playing this song, and I'll hopefully play it up until around here, and then we'll listen to the last part together when I get back. yeah, so just as a preview, here it is.
This is one of these interesting topics where a lot of times
Bulgarian choirs, yes. You've heard this track before. The Bulgarian choirs are the same ones that Asterix uses in Sahara. And I've also played this track before on stream, so it might be that you remember it from that. It's a little bit loud for me. I hope for you guys it's okay. I can turn it down. Let's turn it down slightly, because this is mastered. You can see my voice is not getting over it. If I release the track without mastering it, ever with a professional? Yes. So everything that I've released up until this point has been mixed and mastered by me. It's only the album that I'm getting mastered and mixed by somebody else. From Sterns up. I don't know where the original is. I can find you the original. If you just go Bulgarian folk music in YouTube, I think it's one of the first ones. It's this track. It's just sampled from YouTube, so it's not from a contact library or anything. Let this play out and then we'll get back into this. Started with that trap song with the Bulgarian choirs. I don't know which trap song you're talking about, but or did you make a trap song with these vocals? I'm not really into trap, so I don't really know anything about that, to be honest. Don't like trap at all, but that track was inspiring. Okay. So yeah, there's probably a lot of songs that sample this particular sound. It's really cool. It's different because it's technically not within any Western scale. Like, I got it to work with this track, but it really shouldn't, because it's not in a major or a minor key, to be honest. Yeah, okay. So yeah, the vocal, it doesn't work with any Western scale that we're familiar with, but it mangling around with it and pitching different elements and stuff like that, and really working it in the track, a lot of reverb, that kind of thing, then you can get it to work within a track. Or you need to force yourself to write in a Bulgarian scale that you're not familiar with. But I cannot write by ear, so that wouldn't be an option for me. Let's get back to this plug sound. We'll do the automations in the drop here. Pretty cool to have the energy go up here again. I think it might be a Western scale. I don't think it's micro-tuning. It's not micro-tuning, but they're using definitely a different skill than that we're used to. So for example, say that this is in D sharp. In Western music, we wouldn't really do this, right? Use all three of these notes. But I think in the original, they're doing that, either that or like this. Like having three notes that are next to each other and all playing them, not at the same time, but one after the other. That's really not really done in traditional like Western music, as far as I know. Like in any common scale, obviously there are people who would do that. But I'm not really familiar with any scale that does that within like the traditional Western major, minor, that kind of thing. Don't talk to me too much about music theory, because there's a reason that I make psytrance. I really don't get it, to be honest. What if we go like just a little extra up here? Give it a little bit more power going into. I just want to check something, because it sounds like this is off timing, like it's not timed properly. So if I record this, it might also just be becoming a lot louder towards the end there. Sidechain scales are awesome. Yeah, sidechain scales does use the note going one up, but then it's one and then two, right? It's not like one and one. To me, it almost sounds. Let's just see what the volume is doing. Maybe it's just because it's becoming louder that I'm getting more. It just, towards the end, it doesn't really sit well in what it's doing. It's becoming a little bit louder. But does it? It's strange that this one is shorter. Here it just kind of stops playing. I wonder why that is. Did I do something crazy in here? It might be a good idea to shorten the length a little bit of these. The best way I like to do that for these arpeggiators is to use an arpeggio. So you just go that, and then this is kind of your length control. It's almost like the sidechain is activating here and not on the actual thing. I hope everything is still alright. I just had some weird screen flashes, but it seems to be working again. It almost feels like it's going out of time. Maybe there's a timing issue in here. Maybe the convolution reverb that I'm using is not compensated for properly or something. We can use an LFO tool. It does seem like I'm still live, right? Beijing Opera, that's also an interesting Yeah, it's out of phase, right? So we put this here. Turn this off, obviously. It loses a little bit of its pluckiness. I'm getting a few errors, but it does seem like it's still working. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming, as such viewers may experience buffering. I hope that that's not too big of a problem. Sometimes these errors pop up without them being true. From my OBS, it still looks like everything is okay. So maybe that's an issue, maybe not. Just let me know if anything weird happens. Definitely strange that I'm still getting issues with those flashing things and crashes and whatever is happening when I'm live. That's just a live streaming thing. Yeah, okay, so that sounds a lot more like it. Like the way I want it. It keeps its rhythm to it, even here. Let's maybe... It almost sounds... Ah! There we are. Now I see the problem. Do you see what's going on? The sidechain is not... That's why we're getting issues with the sidechaining before. It's because the sidechain is not on the actual kick. So that seems to be a problem in here as well. This is clean. How about here? For some reason, the sidechain just kind of messes up here towards the end. Here as well. And then from there, it's just a mess. So we also need to remove this and duplicate this over. Did have an automation there, we need to fix that now. But this should fix the timing issue that also that we're hearing here. Get back to there and then just add. Let's wait with the drums a little bit more and then just go in here. I need to add this obviously. I have this other sound which you can use in here maybe. You play with it a little bit. Maybe just have to come in like this. And then add this other melodic thing on top. This definitely should be the foreground element in here. I don't really know where I want to take this here. We're getting towards a full arrangement, which is the goal. It might be a good idea to now remove our ideas, seeing as we have incorporated everything basically in this section here, and we can just kind of start working on the whole. I'm just quickly looking if I haven't forgotten any idea here. These two are disabled in there, and I think with all the drums, all of the bass things in there in terms of individual sections. Like this section is those lower drums are still in here, so if we need them we can just take them. So this is the moment where I want to get my arrangement where it needs to be within the project. So this is kind of where we decide exactly where we want to start the drop, and I'm thinking right about here. The melodies are nice. Thank you. It's good stuff, yes. We might make some more melodies in here. It feels a little bit empty now, these final 2 bits, once this is gone, right? So this is very much filled up right now. Obviously we are going to add some extra elements to that, although it's not really 100% needed. You're just gonna shut up, everything is nice. That's great. Glad you like it. We can maybe think about doing something just like this. I definitely want to turn this into a main element of the track, I would say. Hello Mindbee, nice to see you here as well. Get an auto filter on this. We're probably going to layer some pads in here, so I want to keep, because this is based on this chord thing here, right? We can maybe just create a pad out of that by copying over this MIDI and making it the right color. We can do some cool sound design maybe with Vital. I'm not going to use the original chord here, but I do want something that's pretty similar, so we're going to stick with saw waves for now. But we'll do a little bit of cool sound design with that. Probably some panning, and then try some phase disperse between the two. That's already pretty good. We'll get oscillator 2 involved. Just as a test, what if I just add a little pitch bend to this? Every once in a while, like this. Have this open up over time. If you try the key-tracked LFO on a filter, it makes a very growly sound. We can try something with that. I don't think that's something you would want for a pad like this. Nice. I feel like this part is maybe a bit too dark for what's happening here. Although the contrast between the light and the dark might be a cool theme for a track like this. In that case, what I want to do is bright out where I want darkness and brightness, or the two like different, how would you explain that? Two different moods of the track. So I'm just going to use like colors for that. Let's use a bright blue and then a dark blue. Call this mood. This seems to be pretty dark. And then we have this where the vocals come back. We'll make that brighter. So these dark elements have to call the track yin or yang or something. I have to come up with a title because this is gonna be part of an EP. If this gets released, which I'm aiming for to release stuff like this. Seeing as we're already pretty easily getting this production into a full track, so I'm not having any troubles with the ideas and the things in there. So I'm definitely looking for a way to get this released. I have to find the right title for it because it needs to work with the whole theme of the EP then, right? I might just make it an EP of unrelated tracks, but I always like to have a common topic throughout my releases. Like for example, the album is Stories of the Mind. Every song has its own specific thing about the human mind that I'm exploring within the track, and that ties it all together within one theme. This here, otherwise it won't play. Probably a good idea to add some extra bright elements to our production, because we don't really have a lot to get this brightness that we're looking for. So there's this. I think I'm going to stick with the lower octave for now. But we'll open up the filter a bit more. Just to start out with, which is here. See if we make, again, taking over the whole chord is probably going to make it sound better. Place this here. Let's browse some presets actually. That's something I haven't done in a while. Is there a way to, yeah, bad. Okay. Looking for something pretty bright. Does it matter that it's clipping in Vital? No. So Ableton internally uses a data set called 32-bit float. And that means that within the project, it is very hard to actually clip something. What you'll hear clipping is what comes out of the master. Right, so it gets clipped at the master. Unless Vital itself also clips its output, which I don't think it does, you're not going to have problems with clipping in like your Ableton project unless it goes that loud to the master. But we're going to turn down the volume of this track once we have the sound that we want. So it doesn't really matter, right? We'll just turn it down here or through this. That doesn't really matter how you do it. So the clipping isn't really that relevant. That this is going in the red isn't really that relevant. I do like this one with the big delay and reverb. We might use that here to work up until this moment there. Let's see what happens if I just... Which one is it? It's this one, right? Yeah. In terms of brightness, this should be okay if I now put this to like -18 here. It's already causing CPU issues. So we do need to worry about the CPU issues that this brings. I'm also probably going to replace the delay and the reverb on this, because now that it's so low in volume, I can hear that there's, I think, a little bit of a volume difference there. What I would ideally want is just for it to go on the same volume up until the drop starts, basically. Let's see if my suspicion is correct. No, that's strange. Maybe it's because... Or does it just... It just tapers off so fast. That's the problem. We can maybe use this in the drop though, so like this. We then just take our big reverb and delay. I don't know if you click on the scope of Vital, it turns it into a spectrogram. I really like to see the spectrum of the sound instead of the waveform. I didn't know that, and that's pretty useful, I would say. It might not be as useful as you think, because if you really want to see the spectroscope well of a sound, like if you ever need to do actual analytics on a spectroscope, I would recommend not using one that's like built into Vital. Let's see. I'll edit this to same mix. Keep the same brightness in there. yeah, to get a rough idea of the spectrum. That's a useful tool then, yes. Let's make this a little bit more interesting going into. Okay. Things seem to be going crazy for me. Don't know if you can see that. Ableton's interface is all messed up. Yeah, you can definitely see that on the stream. So I think if I just save this and reload Ableton, I don't know what's causing this. What I get when this happens is that there's like this backflash, and then suddenly either the screen turns completely black for a second, or it's random colors. Like every pixel has its own color, so it's this really bright flash for some reason on part or of the screen or the whole screen. And I'm always, I'm always scared that something is happening to the stream itself, because we've had crashes before and me just not being able to continue on streaming, right? So that's always, anytime the thing flashes, it's just always a moment of like, oh wow, wait, is everything okay? But I think I should be able to quit right now. Let me see. And I have no idea. It's not something I think I can diagnose. It's just some weird thing that my PC does. It also messes up with my camera. It might be the camera thing, so the what's it called? The cam link. Yeah, just give me a second to turn it back on, and then we'll just continue what we're doing. I'm thinking of doing another, should I say probably about half an hour stream. It's a little bit of a shorter stream today than usual. Normally I aim for like 3.5 hours, but this evening I have stuff to do. And I just kind of wanted to chill and stream a little bit. Yeah, I have to work on a project for uni. So that takes priority, obviously, from producing and streaming and everything. But I'll have another half an hour, 45 minutes time to work on this track. And then we'll listen to what we've done for today. It's pretty cool how far I got turning the loops into a song in like 2 hours. It takes a while to open because it's already significantly, or a fairly big project, I would say. Yeah, it should be there. There we are. Let's see if everything plays back correctly and there's no issues. We didn't really crash. To relate your uni products with your stream, it would be awesome. I'll tell you what I'm doing. So for the project, what we're doing is we're creating a MATLAB script, which, given a recording of a sound and then a recording of a sound being played back on a speaker in a room and then captured by a microphone, in our case an ideal microphone, it creates the impulse response of the room out of that recording, regardless if you're playing an actual impulse file or any other file. I'm not going to open it here because opening up MATLAB, that would definitely be give problems in terms of like the CPU usage, because MATLAB it's a big program and it takes a long time to open. Yes, I do study music related things, so music engineering is what I'm studying, which is the engineering behind music, so that you can see where that's coming from. Getting impulse responses from rooms is definitely useful when you want to create your own reverbs and stuff like that. So that's the project that we're working on. The other project that I'm working on for uni right now is a bigger project. It's a group project for 5 people. So the project that I talked about before is a 2 people project maximum. You can do it either solo or with 2. So it's this MATLAB script that you have to write, which is basically finished. We just have to write the report and do some final checks on it. And then the other one that I'm working on is a coding project in SuperCollider, which is a language specifically for musicians to create simple synths and effects, which run within SuperCollider. You can definitely stream this stuff. Well, not tonight, because tonight I'm having the guy that I'm doing it with coming over, and we're just going to write the reports. That's not that interesting. We have to write a 1-page report on it, and then we'll have to do some final checks on the code, make sure that everything works as it should be. Once I get familiar enough with SuperCollider, or mainly Juice, I might do it's going to take a lot of time to do that, but maybe a stream where I do something in Juice, which is a plugin development package for C++, I think. I don't remember if it's C++ or just Objective-C, which are very similar, and it's basically the same thing, I think. But yeah, I'm asked, the next project for the SuperCollider course is basically writing a plugin in Juice. But again, that's a group project of 5 people. So I don't know what my contribution will be, if I'm going to do like an interface, or if I actually have to code in the effects or whatever. But whatever it is, we'll see if we can make it work. Just quickly looking at this here. Just go down this auto filter. That auto filter is behind the delay. It might make more sense to have it completely open up here then. once we get more effects in here and stuff like that, I think it should work. I'm just kind of listening through how it develops, going from the intro into that, if I like this idea for an intro. I think we can work with this. Let's just turn it back on for the drop one, because we're using it here as well. Give it a little less feedback, so it just goes down a bit more. Sorry, if I take this and then place it in here as well, and then not have the delay on it. Sorry. Okay. Just help with this almost like build-up kind of thing. Might be cool to go, nope, keep the depth at like 42 where it was before, throughout this whole thing, and then just maybe like from here on go up like this, so it's just maybe not all the way up, but just a bit more. I do like how that sounds. If the vocals come back in like that. Okay, so if this is dark in terms of the mood, we shouldn't have the vocals in there, I think. We'll just have it playing here with the plug, and it just goes back to the dark sounds like this. Might make some variation on these sounds, although we could just try. Place them in there like this. Maybe even still have that in there. I like some of the weird combinations that you get when playing some of those sounds with the delay of the sounds before. or like when we have two on top of each other, like this. That whole clunge of sounds happening all together, basically. That does sound pretty unique, right? To be honest, I've gotten to the point where I don't really know what I should do next here. What I can do, what time is it? It's 8 o'clock. I still need to eat and I have an appointment at 9. So there's not really much that I can do within the like 15-20 minutes in terms of working on another song. And I'm kind of done for what I wanted to do today. I've done more than I was originally planning on doing. I was like, we'll get the first drop done and then we should be okay in like 3 hours. But I kind of underestimated how would I say that? How well the elements that I had already put out in the loop together turned into the song and worked well with each other, and how easy it was to arrange them like this, right? And I don't feel like doing detail work right now, because that's usually annoying. Things like adding drum fills, adding effects, adding other vocals, adding extra pads, those kind of things. I just kind of want to get my idea out there already. And particularly for this EP, I'm trying to get away with as less detail as I can. So I do have some detail work. For example, these drums, there's this little, these percussive things in here, which are very low in volume, as you can see. But they add a little bit of high-end vibe to it, the reverb thing. It just makes it a little less boring. You get this splash of high reverb, right? You can get a similar effect if you, with the Convolver, if you load custom audio file and reverse the IR. I don't really know what this means. Maybe you're lagging a little bit on the stream, or if you're referring to this thing here. I don't really know how that applies. Yeah, that was set now, right? Yeah. I'm not missing a message. Sometimes it's hard for me when I'm talking about all of the things quickly together to see where in the chat some messages fall, right? What it's related to. So I'm not entirely sure what you mean. And I was losing my train of thought here a little bit. My goal with this track is to be as with the fewest amount of elements, try to get as detailed as possible. So this drum loop is a lot more minimal than I would do. You can see it's a big drum loop. There's a lot of different drums in there, and some like little variations and stuff like that. That it is detailed enough for this track, but for a track that I would not put on this EP, like a normal track that I'm doing, I would have double the amount of drums, just drum channels, just in a drums group like that. Like the drums that I showed on, for example, the video I posted yesterday or the day before on gain staging, which did terrible, but is very important for mixing. So on that project, there's a lot more drums going on, for example, just as an example here. So that's kind of the goal here. So I'm not entirely sure how I want to approach these details, and I don't really feel like doing detail work now. So to be quite honest, I don't really know what to do now in the last 20-25 minutes that I would technically have left. for the stream before I need to really quit and eat something and prep for the project that we're working on later. So instead, what I think I'll do is I'll call it here for today, and I hope I can find, with this first project being finished now, I hope I can find some more time next week during the week as well. So then I can probably do a proper full stream where we'll also do the atmospheric sound design. I have one request for a baseline lined up, and we'll tackle all of that. And we'll see. So for today, I think I'll leave it here. I'm glad everybody showed up, and there was a lot of people. There was a lot of chatting, just scrolling through the chat. I don't think it's ever been this long for in terms of relative to the stream time. So that's amazing, seeing that there's so many people wanting to type messages to me and whatever, just talk to me about music, and also between each other. It's really cool. But yeah, this is going to be the stream for today. I think I'll just quit it here, because I don't really have the creativity. You say make sounds vital. I don't really know. I don't really have the creativity right now, in the sense that what I wanted to do, what I set my mind to do, is done. So I don't really know where to take it from here. I would need to take some time away from this track and relax a bit, properly get back into it, and then I could do new ideas into this track. I could start putting, new ideas into the track. That's what I meant here. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I hope to see you next time. And also next week, a little bit of an announcement to make, so there will be another update video, and I hope you'll all be there for that. Other than that, I don't really know what the tutorial for this week is going to be about, but I'll find something, as you know. And yeah,